Hallelujah. 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 One Vision Ministry, Shanquilla or Shanquilla Carter. Shabbat Shalom. Ah, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, let me get it going. I want to thank Yah for this opportunity to come forth in ministry and doing his will. So let me go for Abba Yah, we thank you for the Shabbat. We thank you for this opportunity for ministry. May your goal in me be fulfilled, but also those that are under your authority. May they be able to hear and take from this whatever you desire for them to have. May your will be done always. Hallelujah. And Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. So let me get ready to go. Social and get it. So today I want to deal with the order of operations. An exception is never a rule, never the rule. So with that, kind of want to, now that kind of the Band-Aid is off, we had this election just recently, and there was a woman running for president. And of course, many have this mode of thinking that a woman being in leadership would probably be a better fit. They would think that's somewhat something. I'm one that's married to an awesome wife that's very intelligent. So I know that there are women that are more intelligent than men. Know that. And I was raised by women, so I know that it's many a situation where women have to run the household. And in a case of a necessity, cool. But that is not the design that Yah set forth. That is an exception. That is not the rule. And when that is made to be the rule, we find disorder. Yah's order is not set in place, and then a lot of other things happen. And basically, when that happens, it's already because Yah's will is not in place. The man has not been in order. And so it's no fault to the woman. So I'm not blaming a woman. If a man was in his role, a woman would never be able to feel that role. Can't happen. Never supposed to happen. So let's go. Let's get to this. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to share my screen, and I'm going to do some reading. I'm going to let the word speak for itself. And that, to me, is the best thing to do. And I'm going to basically hit mostly from the Torah, mostly, and from the Tanakh, because that is the sound foundation that we should build upon. Many of us have come into understanding of what we call the Bible through the New Testament. That was our first endeavor. We started off with that as more of a foundation in the Torah. And so I say, time to rebuild, time to get back to the proper order of operations again, doing things properly. And so here we go, sharing the screen to start off. So I'm starting off here with Bereshit. Bereshit is Genesis to many. And so Bereshit 1, and I'm going to start off what is called verse 26. Oh, my highlight goes away when I click that off. Okay. Well, anyway, I know what I'm supposed to do anyway. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them, so man is mankind, them rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over the earth and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And Elohim created the man in his image. And the image of Elohim, he created him, male and female, he created them. Hallelujah. So that where I'm starting off at. Let me get it. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase. This is a directive, an instruction, a command. To me, it's the first command. And fill the earth and subdue it. Subdue, have dominion over it, and rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures on the earth. So everything that is on the earth, in the earth, man is supposed to have dominion over. Hallelujah. And this is man and woman, because it's said male and female. But let's get into the creation story a little bit. Let's go to the next. And it says here in Bereshit 2, starting at what's called verse 15. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man, and this right now is singular. Man, before the woman was pulled out of him, and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. So we see the order of operation. You have the man alone first. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall certainly die. And Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good for man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as a counterpart. So he made woman from the womb, womb man, womb, but a counterpart, a complementary person. They're equally valuable, but their responsibilities are not equal. Man was already tending the garden, dealing with the garden. You know, I kind of want to let me see, let me scoot up. I think I want to show something too. I want to show something here that a lot of people try to say that this was a second creation, but I want to go up here just a little bit. It says, and Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. So then pause. These are the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that Yahuwah Elohim made earth and heavens. Now, no shrubs of the field was yet on the earth. So none are on the earth. So this has to go before, in the creation period, before there were shrubs on the earth. And no plant of field had yet sprung up, for Yahuwah Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. So if there was no man, this is before man was created. So people try to make this into a second creation, but they ignore this. And I know I'm reading in the English, but the English is supposed to be, this version is supposed to be a great translation, but okay. But anyway, but there was no man to till the ground. So when man was formed, it said that Elohim formed the man out of the dust. This would be the creation man that had woman in it. This would not be another man because, again, there was no man to till the ground. If there were other men on earth when this situation occurred, that right there would not be correct. But again, no man. I'm gonna bypass that. That was a rabbit trail, so I'm gonna bypass that anyway. So let me keep it moving. Let me keep it moving. All right. Going over here to Bereshit Genesis 7. And I'm still dealing with the order of operation and showing what's set in part, set it, what is set as order. And Yahuwah said to Noah, come into the ark. Noah is a man, you and all your household. So he's speaking to the leader over the household, the man, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Is this saying that there were no righteous women? No, it's not. But it's showing that he went to a righteous man, a leader of his household, to move forward with his mission. This is fitting the same order of operation before, where he established things with a man and then brought forth women into the fold. Yes, the woman was pulled out of the man, but the man was alone. And then the woman. So this man brought his household. So that would include his wife, but he was the lead. Of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female. So he even set this order in place with the animals. And of the beasts that are unclean, a male and his female. And of the birds of heaven, 7 pairs, male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of the earth. So that was the only way you could be fruitful and multiply, is to have the male and the female, not male and male, not female and female. You have to have the male and the female. With most majority of the creatures, they have some exceptions, of course. I've heard of frogs that are able to, I guess, generate both ways. However, the majority of creation has to have a male and a female. Not dealing with the exceptions. The rule is a male and a female. And the male is the head, like Noah was the head of his household. So let me continue. And Noah did according to all Yahuwah commanded him. Noah was under the authority. His household was under Noah's authority. And Noah and his sons, didn't mention his daughter, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Again, order of operations. Man over the household, over the woman, over the children, and then you see it notes his sons. People say, oh, well, he didn't have any daughters, but the sons are the ones that end up being mentioned. His sons being Shem. Who else? Japheth, Ham. All of the nations come through those 3 sons. Does not mention their wives' names at all. But those sons' names get mentioned. Because again, order of operations. Let's keep going. Bereshit 12. Genesis 12. And Yahuwah said to Abram, Abram is who we later call Abraham, go yourself out of your land from your relatives, and from your father's household, not his mother's house, his father's household, to a land which I show you, and I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing or favored. And I shall favor those who favor you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be favored. So Abram left as Yahuwah had commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. We know his wife is Sarah, or Sarai. But the focus, again, the order of operation, is on the man. He is the leader. Not saying that the woman is not capable, but this is the order with that Yah set from the beginning. He does not change. All right, going over here to Bereshit again, staying in Torah, dealing with the Tanakh, and this is Bereshit. I'm going to start, we're in 25, starting here at 21. And it says, and Yitzhak, we call him Isaac in English, prayed to Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren. She was unable to be fruitful and multiply at that time. And Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rivkah, his wife, conceived. And within her, the children struggled together. And she said, if it is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to her, two nations. Nations are, and tribes are established by fathers or by men all through Israel. Not by women, but by men, are in your womb, and two people shall be separated from your body, and one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. Those twins are Jacob, or Jacob, as we learn in English, and Esau, two male children, two nations. Again, orders of operations. Let me continue. All right. I make sure that I'm getting everything in my notes as well. I don't want to bypass stuff that I'm supposed to highlight. So right here, I'm going to Bereshit 30. And I'm reading the text. And so we know, well, I know that Leah is the wife of Yaakov. And it says, and Leah said, Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. And afterward, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. I highlighted this one for a reason. Let me come out of the share for a minute. Highlighted that one for a reason. See, 12 sons. It was 11 at that time. And then Dinah. These 12 sons make up the 12 tribes of Israel. If ever there was going to be a woman leader, why not now? Why not in this situation? If there were going to be a head of household, if that was going to be a rule that said, why not now? This daughter is mentioned because there was this incident that happened with Shechem that moved them forward in their conquering of the nations of that land of Canaan. That started it all. But I'm not done with all this, but it's still, why not her? If there was going to be an exception. And as you consistently see, if up to this point, every leader was a man. That was the order that Yah set in motion. Woman was supposed to be a counterpart, a helper, not a leader over the man. We go back to the story of Adam and Eve, and we see that Eve took the lead. And that's where the problem came into play. Not saying she's not capable, but when she took the lead and she took of what Yah had said not to take of, Adam didn't speak up. He sat silent. I've posted many times about the law of the vow. Basically, a woman that is raised under a father, any word she says, her father can cancel it out. His silence is basically agreement. And then when he passes her on to a husband, the same goes for the husband. He can cancel out her vow. Vow and vote are synonymous with one another. Look it up. Look up vow and see that it is basically, saying a certain thing, but then look up vote and see vote, the root of vote is vow. All right, let's get back to this. I don't, I've been called a male chauvinist, that I have a bias towards men, leadership or whatever and stuff like that. But I was raised by women. And I was actually raised to believe if you want anything done, you get a woman. And I actually had that as a mindset for many years until I started reading the Bible for myself, started going to Bible college. And I was a part of a Christian ministry that basically there was a man as head, but the women did most of the leading there. And I couldn't stick there because I started realizing that that was out of order. When I joined there, I had no problem with that. So where I am now, I came to this conclusion. I was not originally here, but many will say, okay, he's a chauvinist, or, you know, they even try to say I hate women, which if you see my interaction with my wife, if you've ever been in my person, you would know that's not so. But hey, make your own assumptions. Yah knows. Hallelujah on that. But let's get back to sharing the screen and keep it going. Keep it going. So I was right here in Bereshit 30. We'll move on to Shemot. Shemot. Moving on to Shemot. All right. So Shemot is called Exodus. You know, I just got off of dealing with the tribes of Israel, and how the tribal leaders were all the sons, and how Dinah basically was there. So let's get over here. Let's deal with this. Shemot, and it says a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. Doesn't even mention her name here. And the woman conceived and bore a son. Was this her first son by him? Let's continue. And she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him and coated it with tar and pitch and put the child in it and laid it in the reeds, sea of reeds, by the edge. Oh, well, no, that ain't the sea of reeds. It's just the reeds, probably stuff it in the water. So by the edge of the river. And his sister, hold on. If he has a sister, that means he wasn't the first child. Later on, you'll find out that, he has an older sister, Miriam, but also has an older brother named Aaron. But and his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. So he had a sister. Again, he had an older brother as well. Why were these two that were born before this son not made leader? If you had a woman here, a female here, this sister that stood at a distance, that if a woman was meant to be a leader according to Yah, why not her? Why not her? We haven't got to the exception that I want to deal with, but we're getting there. We are getting there. Why not her? All right. Still gonna stay in Shemot and Exodus 3 or Shemot 3, and starting at verse 1, it says, and Moshe was shepherding the flock of Jethro. Jethro is what we get in the English translation, but it was no J. His father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Midian, for those that do any study, was a son of Abraham to Keturah. So he was also Hebraic. He was also of Shem's line. So he likely had a relationship with Yah. Okay, anyway. And he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him in flame of fire from the midst of the bush. Notice it says messenger of Yahuwah. Though this messenger of Yahuwah spoke as Yahuwah, it still was a messenger. This is consistent. Just like Moshe will end up speaking as Yahuwah, or I am that I am, or Haya, Ashara Haya, but yet he is a messenger of Yahuwah. But anyway, and the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him in flame of fire from the midst of the bush, and he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, let me turn aside now and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. And Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to see. And Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, here I am. Now notice it, messenger appeared. So is this actually Yahuwah speaking, or is it the messenger? Yahuwah uses proxies. He uses representatives, but they are always said to be him. It is always him, even though he uses someone else. Okay, let me keep continuing. And he said, do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place of which you are standing is set apart ground. Hallelujah. And he said, do not come near here. Take off your sandals of your feet. Place you are which you are standing is set apart ground. And he said, I am Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the same Abram that we spoke of earlier, and the Elohim of Yishak, same Yishak we spoke of earlier, and the Elohim of Yaqub. Notice, heads of household, he's mentioning men. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahuwah said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mizraim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows, and I have come down to deliver them. Moses is the deliverer, or he's the one that's the arm that's used to save these people. But of course, Yah said, I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mizrahites and to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to a place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel is come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mizrahites oppress them. And now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mizraim. Now, with this right here, I kind of noted something. Let me go back up right here. I have indeed seen the oppression of my people. I have indeed seen the oppression of my people. Say it again. I have indeed seen the oppression of my people. Next, I have come down to deliver them. I have come down to deliver them. One more time. I have come down to deliver them. Here it goes. Almost in this part right here. It says, and now see the cry of the children of Israel. I ain't gonna even read that multiple times. But here it goes. I'm gonna read this one. And now come. Who? Moses. I am sending you to Pharaoh. Hold on. You said you gonna deliver. No. And now come. I am sending you to Pharaoh. And now come. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mizraim. Hold on. You said you would deliver them. No, I'm sending you. So Yah has constantly set a man to motion to do his will. When he say, I'm going to do something, he sets a man. He basically, I'm sending you to motion to do his will. It's his will. So when it gets done, he did it. But he sends usually a man. That's his intent. That's his purpose. That's his design. That's his order of operation, except for when there's an exception. See, let me see. I should jump somewhere now. I kind of want to stay with my order of operations, and I'm gonna jump there and talk, and then I'm gonna stay on task. But Barack was the man that was supposed to be sent. Barack was the man that refused to be sent unless a woman went with. This woman didn't direct Barack to go. It was Yah who directed this man to go. He chose a man, but the man would not go without a woman. We're gonna get to that, but I don't want to skip my order. I'm gonna come to that because many people say, "Oh, well, she was the leader." She was, but you have to look at the position of Israel. They were in a fallen state. They were operating in wickedness and not obedience. And that man that was given a directive, again, was disobedient. He wasn't going to move unless this woman went. Yah could told him all day. Yah had told him all day, this is what I need you to do. As a leader of men, I need you to take these men and do this. He like, I ain't going nowhere unless this woman go. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to go show you that the armies of Yah were men, not women. You know, eventually when women have came into play, you know, many people have watched Black Panther, which is based on some Israelite women, a fighting force of women. I think the nation of the Dahomey had women as fighters, like Amazons. You know, but many know that if they know what Dahomey means, the house of Dan, homie, home, the house of Dahomey, Dan. Dan is the tribe that basically you don't see mentioned in Revelations when they talk about the tribes. Dan is considered the snake or the serpent people, or you know, and Dan was the brother out of the ones that took up Joshua. Oh no, Yosef, excuse me, that wanted to kill Yosef. He wanted him dead. Dan has a lot of issues through history, Israelite history. So that exception of having women fighters, that's unique to them, and it's not the rule. But that's a rabbit trail. Let me get back. Got more reading to do because I'm letting the text speak for itself. I do have some commentary here and there, but the text is really what's doing the talking. So let's get back to the text. All right. I'm over here at Bimidbar, Numbers 1. And so I got a couple of verses at the top and the bottom of this. So it says right here, Numbers 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe in the wilderness. He spoke to the leader in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of appointment on the first day of the second new moon. Second new moon would be the second month. Excuse me. In the second year after they had come out of the land of Mizraim, saying, take a census, count these folks, of all the congregation of the children of Israel, by their clans, by their fathers' houses, not their mothers, but by their fathers' houses. Excuse me. By their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male, head by head. Don't even look like they're counting the women. No, it says every male, head by head. I'm not trying to make women to be insignificant, but what is going on here? To this matter right here, women don't apply. Every male, head by head, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army in Israel. Because women don't apply. They were not meant to be a part of the army or the fighting force. I just mentioned about the Dahomey women and how their military was all women. But by Yah's commands, which the Torah is right here in Numbers, is part of the Torah, the census and the count was for every male, head by head, 20 years old and above. Everyone going out to the army in Israel, number them by their division, and you and Aharon, a man for every tribe, should be with you, each one the head of his father's house. The men, and you're supposed to have men from every tribe. Dan did their own thing. They had women as their fighters. That is contrary to this. That's out of order. Who am I but someone that's reading this? This is not something I set in place. This is not something that I have established. Yah established this. Let me go down. These are the ones called from the congregation, leaders of their fathers' tribes. Tell me when I get to, get to this and saying this, you can go to this yourself and look above all these names that's above and notice that they're male names, not one female. These are the ones called from the congregation, leaders of their father's tribe. Father's tribe, not mother's tribes. That's a Jewish thing when they go by the mother, the matriarch. Yah is the father. If you're following the matriarch or women, you're not following the Bible. The book you call the Bible, the 66 books, or you're not following that if you're going that way. You're following the traditions of men. And those men are not of Shem. But hey, read the text. This right here should red flag some of those actions and some of those things that's being passed off as our culture. We follow this book. Following Torah or keeping Torah, shamaring, I should say, Torah, guarding Torah is of significant importance. So these are the ones called from the congregation, leaders of their fathers' tribe, heads of the thousands of Israel. And Moshe and Aharon took these men who were called by name, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second new moon, and they declared their ancestry, excuse me. I still stutter sometimes, so forgive me. Anyway. And they declare their ancestry by clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, each one head by head. And Yahuwah commanded Moshe, as Yahuwah commanded Moshe, so he registered them in the wilderness of Sinai. A command. This was not a suggestion. This was a directive, a command, an instruction of Yah. This was supposed to be set in place. This was not a suggestion again. You know, man, when you address the elephant in the room, you see that the priests and leaders up to this point were always men. People say, well, what about Miriam? Miriam, the sister of Moses, she was a prophetess, but they do not show her in a leadership role. She had some acknowledgement, but when she spoke out against her brother, which Aaron did the same thing, she was punished. You don't see Aaron punished at that moment. Not saying that he wasn't, but she was directly turned leprous and sat outside the camp. You can't ignore that. That happened. So let me keep going. Let me keep going. All right. I'm gonna let me see. Let me see. Do I need to do this to share? Let me see. I'm gonna maybe have to stop and then come and share this and then come back out. So I had to do a search. The book of Judges mentions 12 leaders who are said to judge Israel. You got Othniel, a male, Ehud, a male, Shamgar, a male, Deborah or Deborah, that's a female, Gideon, male, Tola, male, Jer, male, Yephnah, male, Isban, Ibzan, male, Elon, male, Abdon, male, and Samson. So you got 1 out of the 12. 1/12. That's a interesting proportion. 1/12. Exception. No dishonor to this woman. She did her role. Appreciate her. There were no men that would step up to the plate. So she stepped up to the plate. I'm going to read some of that. Because I think a lot of people skip over words in reading what it says in the story. So I'm just going to read the brief part. I'm not going to get into the all of it, but I'm going to read a brief part. Okay. I still got to move over there. So here it goes. All right. It's Shophatim, Judges. Almost sound like Shofar almost, but Shophatim, Judges 4. And it says, and when Ehud, he was one of the judges, was dead, the children of Israel, again, what did they do? Did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. So they were under a judge and basically walked according to that. And so now they walking in evil again. So another judge has to show up. They walking in evil. So these people are in wickedness. And so what's going forth is the judge that's coming in place is showing the, I guess, depravity that they were under. The level of depravity they're under is identified by the leader that's over them. Not knocking her, but it's showing how bad they were, that they had failed so far that now something that has never happened, they had never had a woman leader, Now they got a woman leader. Never happened prior to this. If someone can show me where a woman had been in lead over Israel prior to this in righteousness, show me. Therefore, Yahuwah sold them into the hand of Yahweh, the sovereign of Canaan, who reigned in Hatzor, and the commander of his army was Sisera, who was dwelling in Harosheth Hagoyim. And the children of Israel cried out. Remember, I mentioned about them crying out earlier, crying out to Yahuwah. When they cry out to Yahuwah, what? He responds. Because he had 900 chariots of iron, and for 20 years he harshly oppression of the children of Israel again. There it goes. So they crying out because Sisera, having 900 chariots of iron and for 20 years harshly oppressing them, now here come a judge. And Deborah says, a prophetess, the wife of Lapido. So she had a head over her. She had a man over her. She wasn't standalone. So by the Hebraic law, everything that she did or said had to be okayed by this man. Any vow she made, this man had the right to be silent and go in approval of it or shut it down. She had a husband. If she's going to be obedient to the Torah and walk in it, she has to be up under that law of the vow. Maybe I should go back to the law of the vow, but it's right there in the Torah. Many, I've talked about it before, but maybe I should go there before we end, just so you can see that there's a law of the vow. But I wish you would look it up yourself instead of having me having to go there. Look it up. Women are under the law of the vow. When a man makes a vow, he straight up got to just honor that. But a woman, hers could be canceled out by her father first, and then when she's under her husband's care, her husband. But anyway, Deborah was ruling Israel at that time, and she was dwelling under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Beth El in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for right ruling. So they sought her leadership. She was a great leader, not knocking that. And she sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh and Naphtali, and said to him, now this is key. Many ignore this. Has not Yahuwah Elohim of Israel commanded? Commanded who? Him. Not Deborah, commanded him. Go, and you shall draw towards Mount Tabor, and shall take with you 10,000 men, not no woman, men of the sons of Naphtali and of the sons of Zebulun. She's reminding him that Elohim, Yahuwah Elohim, has commanded that he go and get men with him and go handle this matter. He had already had direction from Yah, and this woman had to come and remind him, had to come and challenge him about what was already known by him. But see, this man, to me, was a coward. Though he was a leader of men, he was not one that was willing to obey Yah without the voice of a woman confirming it. And it says, and I shall draw unto you Sisera. Who is I? Yahuwah, the commander of Yahweh's army, with his chariots and his company at the Wadi Kasan, and shall give him into your hand. Y'all gonna set him up for victory. But nah, this coward Well, I shouldn't call him that. I'm gonna leave my ancestor alone. I ain't right for doing that. So I apologize, y'all. My apology. And Barak said to her, if you go with me, then I shall go. But if you do not go with me, I do not go. I don't care what y'all say. If you ain't going with me, I ain't going. He's willing to defy Yah unless this woman go with him. And she said, I shall certainly go with you. Let's see how was she boisterous in saying that, or was she reluctant? Only there shall be no esteem to you. You gonna go do this, but there should be no esteem to you. What? Why? Because the way he going about it. In the journey you are taking, for Yahuwah is going to sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. Not into Deborah's hand, but another woman. Because what? You got all of these in your army that are men, but a woman is going to be the one that the victory is going to be accounted to. What is that saying? You going with all these men, but a woman. This is showing the state that Israel was in as well as Barak. So Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. So I read earlier about that the army was made up of men. So this woman is going towards the battlefield with Barak. The only one really, that's man, out of order. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up 10,000 men under his command. And Deborah went with him. They weren't under Deborah's command, they were under his command. They were his army to control. But this man wouldn't go without her. He was going to tuck his tail unless she went. And so she had to agree to go. She submitted to his authority in a sense. If you really look at it, she went at his directive, went at Yah's directive. But she wasn't. That wasn't her goal to go. Why should she go call him if she was gonna go and gather the men herself? What did she even have to go to him for? Come on, just think about it. Just think about it. So Israel being in a fallen state, this woman, our ancestor, honorable, righteous woman, took up the responsibility that a man failed and disregarded. That man did not want that. He didn't. No, I don't want to do that. No, you do it. you do it. You do it. That man, he straight up punked out. That man said, nah. I know you sent me. I know you called me to deliver this people, but I don't want that responsibility. But okay. I know you reminded me, Deborah, but if you ain't going, I ain't going. She like, well, a woman gonna get the credit then. You're like, I don't care. As long as you go. Yeah, but again, the order of operation has always been men. Men, over and over, as you keep going on further and further in the book, men. And it's the order. Because in the end, Yah wants to be the one that's over us, but he follows his order. The household situation, you have Yah, Yahusha, man, woman. So you have Yah, the high priest, then Adam. Because Adam is the high priest, actually. The original Adam, he is the original Melchizedek, or king of righteous, king of justice, or whatever. or not. I don't like to use king or whatever, but he's the sovereign of justice. He's the one that was supposed to have dominion over the earth. He dropped the ball, and there were men after that that filled that role consistently. Another, Noah, Abram, Moses, Yahushua. There were consistently men filling that role. Then you have one exception, Deborah. And then it goes back to men. People have even tried to throw Esther in the mix, but if you really look at it, Esther was under Xerxes or under her Ahasuerus. So she was not an authority in that situation. Israel again was in bondage or under somebody else's covering or lead. She had to basically come in fear before that man. So she was not in a dominating position. Man was told to have dominion, dominate for Yah. You can't, you keep going through all the text. You got Deborah, but where else do you have a woman leading? Where else? And it be in a righteous situation. You had women like Jezebel who had a husband over her, but yet she still was the one running things in her home. She was a high priestess of Baal. So that ain't us. Israel, you're supposed to have a man and a man of Israel of your head as your head. We shouldn't even have other nations over us. I get it. And in their workplace, in bondage places, yeah, it's going to be that way. But when it comes to our assemblies, when it comes to the things that we are grabbing and a hold of, unless we're trying to make the exception the rule, Israel, a man of Israel should be over. So I'm gonna finish off. Let me go over here. Let me get ready to wrap this up. I'm gonna go over here to Shemuel Aleph or 1 Samuel 8. And of course, I've went over this before because a lot of people seem to not take heed to this. I have a problem calling any man king or whatever because, of course, my king is Yahuwah. My sovereign is Yahuwah. I'm a prince. A son of a king is a prince. So I'll claim myself as a prince. And I claim any man could be a prince. Any daughter of Yah could be a princess. I don't acknowledge the word queen. If you look up the etymology, you see that the Queen actually, they both of them come from the same root, and that was a negative term and not a positive. But it's something that nowadays they use. It's a lot of negative terms that people use today. But okay, let me read. And it came to be when Shemuel was old that he made his sons rulers, not his daughters, not female, his sons rulers over Israel. And the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah, rulers in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways, and turned aside after own gain, and took bribes and twisted right ruling. And all the elders, men again, of Israel gathered together and came to Shemuel at Ramah, and said to him, Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a sovereign. Not looking for a woman, looking for a man to rule over them, to rule us like all the nations. But the word was evil in the eyes of Shemuel when they said, Give us a sovereign to rule over us. So Shemuel prayed to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Shemuel, Listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from reigning over them. Yah has always wanted to reign over Israel. If you go to Exodus 19:5 and 6, basically it established that when Israel walks in a righteous way, in an obedient way, they are royal priests to Yah. He's reigning over them. He is their high priest, or he sets them as priests and high priests, but he is their sovereign over them. Excuse me. He's the sovereign over them. Yes, we rule, but as holy priests, as sovereign priests, but not as kings. That's not the design. He has never wanted us to have a king. People will speak on King David, but King David happened after this. This is things that he allowed, but this was not his design. This is not what he desired. They have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from reigning over them, according to all the works of thy works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Mizraim, even to this day, forsaking me. This is Yah, forsaking Yah, and serving other mighty ones. So they are doing to you. They are doing to you too. A sovereign and a king is, if you ever dealt with any type of mythology or any type of old history, the kings of old would see themselves as God, as a deity. They considered themselves mighty ones. Go back to Nimrod, who considered himself a mighty one. These things are competition to Yah, or they're not really competition to him, but they claim themselves to be competition to Yah. This is a problem. If you want to sit as king, you are a competition to Yah. You're operating as a mighty one. You're giving yourself glory. This is what Hasatan did. We are not kings. We're not even supposed to strive to be kings over other men. We're supposed to be brothers, peers, priests. That's what we should be putting our energy towards. But again, the order is men. Men are to be the ones of authority in Israel. Yes, my wife has authority over the children, but she's under my authority. With the law of the vow, see, I spoke on that, so I probably should go there. Let me go ahead and look that up and get to that, because you know, I definitely want to be in order. So let me get over there and get there. I'm gonna read it. If you're ready to get off of here, you can or whatever. But I'm going there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna add this to this recording too. It's been on other recordings, so it's gonna be on this one too. It's always good to reread and reread again the Torah. So Bimidbar, Numbers 30. And Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, this is the word which Yahuwah has commanded. When a man vows a vow to Yahuwah or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he does not break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth. Period. Point blank. Or if a woman vows a vow to Yahuwah and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father has kept silent towards her, then all her vows shall stand, if he kept silent. And every agreement with which she has bound herself stands. But if her father forbids, if he cancels it out, her on that day that he hears, if her father forbids her on that day that he hears, if he forbids what she says, then none of her vows nor her agreements by which she has bound herself stand. So again, woman under authority of Yah, this is supposed to be the standard, period. Her father, who she's in home, is able to cancel out. So they say, oh, well, what if she moved out of her father's house or whatever? Mm. So she's standing alone. And who is she over? If she's in order, she shouldn't have any children without a husband. So let's keep going. And Yahuwah pardons her because her father has forbidden her. But if she is at all belongs to a husband, while bound by her vows or by a rash utterance from her lips, by which she bound herself, and her husband hears it, and he has kept silent towards her on the day that he hears that her vows shall stand. If he keeps silent, again, and her agreement by which she bound herself do stand. But if her husband forbids her on that day that he hears it, if he speaks up, then he has nullified her vow which she vowed, and the rash utterance of her lips by which she bound herself, and Yahuwah pardons her. See, but let's keep going. But any vow of a widow or a divorced woman by which she was bound herself stands against her. So this woman was married. She's a widow now. A divorced woman. She cut away from covenant with her husband. If she vowed in her husband's house or bound herself by an agreement with an oath, and her husband heard it and has kept silent towards her and did not forbid her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement by which she bound herself stands. If a woman vow anything and she's under headship of a man, it sticks. Again, it says for a widow, a divorced woman. Does it say, oh, she moved out of her father's house? It don't say that. But hey, maybe we can go with that. Maybe that can be an exception. But I'm looking at the rule. But if her father clearly nullified them on the day he heard them, then whatever came from her lips concerning her vows or concerning the agreement binding her, it does not stand. Her husband has nullified them, and Yahuwah pardons her. I don't need to go any further. Y'all need to check that out. Numbers 30. Read that yourself. Read it in depth. Read it in depth. A woman should be under authority. So again, I didn't vote for either one of these people in the election. Neither one of them. So you can hate me all day, say, "Oh, you should have voted for her." You know, I didn't see either one of them as a part of our nation either. But again, a woman shouldn't be leading over you, man, when it comes to your nation, when it comes to ministry. Work is a whole nother animal. That's not under your control. That is bondage again. So hey, I got a woman supervisor. I have no issue with her. And I believe she's, Hebraic, she don't operate as that. She operates as a Gentile, but still, I have no problem with that. No issues. Because I'm in that house of bondage. But when it comes to my home, one of the problems came up. Again, I told you I was born in a matriarch home setting and family setting. So that in itself is probably a lot of the problem with me and my family. And they say, well, you living in the past. And I'm like, I'm addressing what's still there. Women in my family are very demonstrative towards male leadership. They basically say, if you want anything done right, that way it was said to me by my grandmother. Maybe the rest of them don't say it, but their actions say they believe you want anything done right, get a woman involved. That men sometimes are predators or all this stuff. You got to guard for men. And men have set that in motion. So I can't get mad at him about it. But again, I'm not that. So I'm gonna walk in the authority that Yah has placed in me. Yah's my total authority, but he has set me as a man to operate on this earth in dominion. So I do so. And it offends people. So, Abba Yah, we thank you for the Shabbat. We thank you for this opportunity to minister. I thank you for all those that have watched. May those that have comments or critiques come forth. I'm willing to deal with those matters. May I be open to learn. If I've said something that is off, it's something that I can learn, let it be shared with me. Let me be able to be pliable towards you and your Ruach. Let me be able to be trustworthy with your word so that I'm not using it to be chauvinist or to abuse anyone, but I'm using it to bring forth righteousness in all, male or female. I thank you for your will. Thank you for your purpose. May my household stay in favor. May your will be done always in this home, the Carter home, and through One Vision Ministry. I Shanquil Yah, I Shanquilla Carter, Ahava, I love you, Yah, and I want to obey and honor you always. Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.